Cass was the first place for her in the last decade that was a safe, permanent home. For individuals with special needs, there's not always the same avenues. What's next once they graduate high school? Cass is a nonprofit here in Fort Wayne. We empower individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to grow in independence, community, and purpose.
Where do you see, the future for Cass House?
So I have big dreams. So our housing is very unique. Really think of this as a model in which any community across the nation could implement in a way that's going to not only benefit the lives of core members and their families, but really benefit the community.
Welcome back to the NEI Pioneer Podcast. This podcast showcases and shares the people and stories in Northeast Indiana. Today, Brice welcomes Becca Graf, Executive Director of Cass Housing. Cass Housing was established in 2015 as a solution for questions and concerns that those who care for intellectual and developmental disabilities have, specifically around housing and support. They provide unique solutions that include group homes that allow core members to live with independence and support. They have also worked to add Cass Academy, which is an independent skills program that further supports individuals. In today's episode, Becca shares where she got her passion for her work, what makes Cass Housing unique, and she even shares some inspiring stories from her career. All that and more in today's episode. Take it away, Brice.
Becca Graf, thank you so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's talk a little bit about your background. How did you get to Cass?
Yes, so not necessarily the conventional path, probably for most nonprofit leaders. So I was born and raised here in Fort Wayne. My dad was a prominent pastor here in the area. So my background really was in ministry. So grew up in the church, worked in the church up until about 5 years ago. And so loved that part of my life. I really felt a passion for pouring into families, parents and children. And so I was a children's director here at a large church here in Fort Wayne. And then really felt that it was time to move on to something new. Didn't know what that was. Didn't really understand the path God was taking me on at the time. And I have a brother-in-law who is just very well connected, and he had met with Cass Housing because my niece has autism. So she was adopted when she was 2 and had a diagnosis when she was 4. And it was our first really experience as a family of having an individual with special needs as a part of our family. And she's just brought absolute joy to our family, opened our eyes to a whole other world of joys and challenges. And watching my brother-in-law and sister navigate those, they are rock stars and truly inspirational. So when I was at the church, I saw there was a need for a ministry that ministered not only to special needs children, but to their families. And so that really started that passion for individuals with special needs. And when it was time for me to change careers, my brother-in-law was like, there's this organization, it's called Cass Housing. They are looking for a new executive director, and I think you would be a good fit. It totally scared me, to be honest. I'm like, church and nonprofit, people might think they're the same, but they're very different. But I needed interview experience. And so I was like, well, I guess I'll try. And the more I learned about Cass and going through the interview process, I really felt just drawn to what Cass was doing, how they were really pouring into families in a different way. But I felt that my passion for pouring into families and helping build strong families, really, this still fit. It looks different, but it still fit. And so that's kind of how I got to where I was. So, when Cass offered me the position 4 years ago, I was really excited to take it. I felt like it was taking a sip through a fire hydrant. Yeah. So I needed to learn a lot of things. Having a niece with intellectual disabilities and running an organization for individuals with intellectual disabilities is very different. Very, very different. But both very, very rewarding.
Now, kind of inform the audience, what is CAS? What is, all that entails, what it is.
Yes. So CAS is a nonprofit here in Fort Wayne. We empower individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities to grow in independence, community, and purpose. And we do that through housing and through educational programs. So our housing is very unique. I think a lot of people, when they hear housing for individuals with disabilities or intellectual disabilities, their mind immediately goes towards group homes. And that's fair. That's where my mind went at the very beginning as well.
That's where my mom works, oversees one of those
Yes.
houses. So
Okay.
that was my thought when I first heard of it. But it's obviously a little different than that typical setting.
Yes, it is very different in the sense that our goal is to really empower individuals to be as independent as possible. That does look different for everybody. And so there are wonderful group home facilities that do very similar to what we do. The way we're designed is just different. So the best way for me to describe a CAS house is like a duplex. So when we build our home, they're all new construction. Half of the home is designed for our core members. Our core members share a full kitchen. They share a laundry room and like a living space. That is really designed to help build community within the home. So to help prevent any sort of isolation that they might experience, they automatically have, there's 3 core members per home. So they automatically have some housemates that they're going to see on a regular basis, that they are going to be able to interact with and build some sort of relationship. Some of them build best friend relationships. Others are just great cohabitants in a home, but they are there for one another. Off that common space are 3 individual units that are about 500 square feet. They each have their own bedroom, bathroom, kitchenette, and living space. So it's very much their own apartment. They have full autonomy over that space. They can decorate it how they would like to decorate it. We've had core members host Colts football watch parties. We've had a core member host her family Christmas in her apartment. So it really is their own home, that unit. But there is that built-in community with that shared space. On the other half of our home is a full apartment where we have a steward live. A steward is an individual from our community who's passionate about our mission. They have jobs in the community. They're not employees of CAS. That steward is a safe neighbor to those 3 core members in the home. We provide the housing rent-free for the steward. In exchange, they do a daily check-in for our core members, a weekly get-together, and a monthly outing. So they are also just another part of the community that the core member experiences through living with CAS. A daily check-in could be a 5-minute, hey, Brice, how was your day?
Yeah.
How's that project at work? What are your plans for the weekend? But it could also be a 30, 40-minute, do you need help going through your mail? If there's a light bulb that's out, well, let me show you how to change it. So they're not required to provide any sort of daily living skill support or assistance, but they can if they're asked and they feel like they have the capacity to do that. But they really are just a safe neighbor that is there for accountability for that core member, and is just another set of eyes and hands that are there to support them as they journey through their life and grow in independence.
For you, where did the passion come for this type of work? Obviously, you mentioned your niece, and you started a program within your church, but what was the catalyst, to kind of get you down this path?
So when I was in high school, I did participate 1 year in the peer tutoring program where I was a one-on-one with an individual with Down syndrome. I think that was probably my first experience with individuals with special needs. And Noah was a very joyful, bright student and really a peer. And I went to Homestead High School, graduated from Homestead, and really proud of how Homestead, even in the 90s, integrated individuals with special needs into our classes. So I feel like in high school, I've had a lot of interaction with individuals and just saw the joy that they brought to life, they brought to our classrooms. They had a perspective that none of the typical students had. And so I think was just drawn to like their joy of life and the way that they were able to help me specifically pause and view life through a different lens that often was a more positive, happy, and real, authentic lens than I put on myself. And so then when Gracie came into our family, it just the joy and the positivity that she brought, like a genuineness, unfiltered view of the world, I could say. It's just very rewarding to be around individuals that love you for who you are, who see you for who you really are, and really, there's no smoke and mirrors when you're dealing with individuals with special needs, and it's just an environment I really enjoy being around. And so, having Gracie in our family has really fueled that passion. And I think as she's grown, my two children are the same age as Gracie and her brothers. And so watching my kids grow and being able to see the world through her eyes, I think gave my children such greater love and respect for people. And just watching her navigate life at the same time as my kids, she had to be so much more resilient, so much stronger. She had to overcome so much more obstacles. And so to be somebody that is able to help individuals like Gracie get through some of those things, it's really a privilege. And then my faith, I think, takes really the forefront of like my passion for that. So I'm a firm believer that we were all created in the image of God, and that every life was created with a plan and a purpose to honor and to glorify Him and to help us all get through life together. And so I just think it's fun to be used by God to be able to invest in the lives and help elevate the lives of individuals who tend to be overlooked.
What did you want to be when you grew up? I imagine, this maybe wasn't, like I said, the path to get here, but, obviously I've seen your background. You had an education degree from Purdue Fort Wayne. What did you want to be? I didn't imagine you'd probably see yourself in this position with that degree.
Yeah. So growing up, the only thing I wanted to be was a wife and a mom. That was the only thing I wanted to be. And actually, I never fully finished my degree from Purdue Fort Wayne because I got married and we started a family. And so that was really anything that God put on my heart was to be a wife and a mom. And I see that playing out even as the director of CAS. I'm not everybody's mom, but I get to be a part of their journey the way a mom gets to be a part of their child's journey. And so I think that passion for just loving people and watching them grow and being a part of that journey has really helped fuel what we do at CAS. So as a mom, I've always wanted to empower my kids to be able to make wise choices on their own. I wanted them to be able to advocate for themselves. I wanted them to be able to see that they have the potential to work hard and achieve maybe not anything, but they can achieve much that they put their mind to, and that it's okay to ask for help. And that's exactly what we're doing at CAS with our residents, but we also have an education program called CAS Academy, and that teaches life skills. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're empowering them to help them learn how to make the wisest choice possible, help them grow in their independence, help them realize that independence doesn't mean alone. It's okay to have that support. And so, being a mom, I think, is what kind of fueled what I love to do.
How does an individual, go through the process of getting into a house? How does a core member, get into, what's the process like?
So the process of getting into a CAS home is, for some people, I think they would think, oh, it was really easy. And others, they have been on our waiting list for a really long time. So it's difficult in the sense that it's not a typical apartment complex where we have a vacancy, anybody can, just apply, and we have female houses and we have male houses. Right now, all of our homes are considered independent living. So there are specific skills that you have to be able to do on your own to be successful in the home. All hygiene skills you have to be able to do on your own. Mm-hmm. Cooking you have to be able to do on your own. Figuring out your transportation, that's all on your own. So when we have a vacancy, if it's for a female house, you need to be a female. You need to be able to do many of the adult daily living skills that on your own. But then also, because you're living with in a house with 3 core members, we do what we call a matchmaking process.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you do something like that.
Yes, we do. So our education program and some of our community programs help us identify those on our waiting list, or we call it an interest list. So those on our interest list, we kind of know who fits kind of in the category of independent living, like who's able to do some of these skills on their own. And we watch how they interact with others. We know that the personalities of the people that are living in the home and what's going to be a good fit and what's not going to be a good fit. Mm-hmm. So when we as a staff come together to say, hey, we have a female vacancy, here's a few people that we think would be a good fit. Let's do some matchmaking. Let's take the current core members and this potential core member out to lunch. How do they interact with each other? How do their families interact? We get the families together. We encourage families to connect outside of CAS to see how they mesh. Are there any concerns? So current families and current core members have a voice in who's going to move in. And then the staff also kind of looks to say, okay, does this individual have what it takes to be successful in this home long term? Mm-hmm. And so it is a application that you fill out, but there's also an interview process, if you will, to making sure that we're not putting people in a home where there might be easy conflict or that there just might be isolation, but that they'll be able to build a community together.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned the stewards on the other side of the home. What does it take to be a steward? I imagine there might have to be, maybe not, maybe some interest of, I want to help, this individual or these individuals who have intellectual disabilities.
Yeah. When we're looking for a steward, having experience working with people with intellectual disabilities is not a requirement. It's definitely a plus. Mm-hmm. But it's not a requirement. We are really looking for individuals who have a heart for people. And we want people who are compassionate, who are observant, who are dedicated to our mission just as much as we are. They aren't employees, but yet they are probably some of our strongest frontline workers of CAS. And so many of our stewards do have experience working with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I think that's probably because they've heard of CAS, and so we're on their radar. Not everybody has had that experience or is coming from that specific field, but all of them come from various backgrounds. Some are married with children. Some are single. We had a steward who was retired, and most of our stewards, though, work 40 hours a week in other jobs. So really, we're looking for individuals that have a heart for people, who have a passion for community, who have the capacity to do those check-ins, do those weekly get-togethers and monthly outings and that willingness to do it on top of what they're already doing. So one of our stewards that I can think of that he's just brought a lot of energy to the Cass campus. He's a dad of 3. He does work in the field, but he really engages with the men of his house really well. He's helped them start a kickball league. So on Tuesday nights, Cass now has a kickball league. And part of it was because we had this steward who was willing to say, like, I can help you do that. And because he's wanting to invest in our core members. And I think that's the key, is finding individuals who, we're not looking for individuals who want free housing. We're not looking for individuals who are wanting something easy. We're looking for individuals who want to invest and who love people. And we have found 6 incredible stewards who do just that.
You touched on the Cass Academy a couple of times now. How did that get started, and take us through some of the activities that go on?
Yes. So Cass Academy got started out of necessity, really. So when Cass was first founded, it was really supposed to be housing. We're going to build a house. People will move in. They'll have a steward. We're going to build another house. And we were going to be a housing organization that just pumped houses. But after moving a few of the core members in, we quickly realized that the skills you have in your own home growing up aren't always transferable to a new space. And so we started realizing, like, okay, we need to provide some sort of support in that transition time to help them transition into a new space. And then that kind of grew into, well, just because you know how to make, chicken nuggets doesn't necessarily mean you want to eat chicken nuggets the rest of your life. So how do we help them grow in some skills like in cooking to help them widen their palate? It gets a little bit more confidence in the kitchen. And so that turned into a program that Cass originally called Brick. And those were just independent living skills that staff went into the core members' homes and taught some of those daily living skills just to help them take what they had and expand on it. And then about 2.5 years ago, we realized that we cannot build homes as fast as we need to help meet the needs of the individuals in Allen County, specifically the individuals that were on our waiting list. So what can we do that is going to help them grow in their independence, empower them to continue learning, and be successful wherever life takes them next? Would we love it to be a Cass home? Absolutely. Is it likely to be a Cass home? I don't know. It might be in a group home. It might be staying at home with mom and dad. But maybe it's moving into an apartment on your own. So what can we do to help empower the individuals while they're waiting? And that's where Cass Academy was born. So we've identified 6 areas of independence that we feel are necessary for all people to be successful in, but continually growing. So that is safety within the home and your community, healthy relationships, having boundaries, understanding the different types of relationships, and so that's a big one. Cooking and housekeeping, how to expand your cooking skills, basic housekeeping skills. Community engagement, whether that's employment, volunteerism, transportation. How do we help you engage within the broader community? And then financial literacy. So understanding money in, money out, budgeting, saving, all of that. And so we have some great community partners here in Fort Wayne that help teach some of those classes. But then we also have a top-notch Cass Academy staff that have developed curriculum. So we have a 2-year cohort. We just graduated our first cohort, which was very fun. Great way to celebrate. But the cohort is a commitment of 36 weeks a year for 2 years, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings, and they go through those 6 focus areas over those 2 years. And then we launch small groups. So small groups are for individuals who might need a little bit more assistance or a little bit more attention, or who just tend to learn better in a smaller setting. And they are 6 small groups are 6 weeks long that focus just on one of those areas at a time. And then we have just kind of some like one-off in the summer. This summer we have some meal prep classes. So then we have some one-off events that kind of focus on those areas as well. But everything we want to do at CAS is really going to help empower core members, whether they're from the community or our residents, to kind of gain and grow in that independence, community, and purpose.
Today's episode is brought to you by Grace College. Grace is one of our region's most popular liberal arts colleges. Let me tell you a few reasons why. First of all, it's located in the picturesque town of Winona Lake. Second of all, Grace values excellence in the classroom as well as providing mentorship to help build confidence outside of the classroom. They offer over 100 academic programs as well as a 17-to-1 student-faculty ratio. Number 3, it's just down the street from the orthopedic capital of the world. They offer both accelerated and master's programs in orthopedics to help fuel the growing economy of Warsaw. Number 4, Grace is also known for their faith-centered community. They facilitate and encourage growth in your personal faith journey. Just to recap, if you're looking for a close-knit, faith-centered community to pursue a higher education in a picturesque town, then look no further than Grace College. If you want to learn more about Grace, be sure to check out the links in the description below. But for now, let's jump back into the episode.
How important has that been to start that up and, finally see, like you said, go through, your first cohort? I mean, like you said, you guys could have been just a housing option for people and just, build house after house. How important was that, bringing that into the organization and, moving the organization forward and having this other, part of the organization? How important has that been to it?
I think CAS Academy is equally as important as our housing. At this point, housing is wonderful, and I am thankful to live in a community where there are organizations out there, like for-profit organizations, that are set aside units in their developments for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And so while housing is always going to be a challenge, Indiana at least is growing in opportunities. Maybe not as fast as I'd like to see them, but they are growing. So our academy is, I think, essential to helping at least individuals in our community get prepared for where life can take them next. There are some wonderful organizations that my niece is a part of now that she has graduated. My niece is 23, so she graduated from Homestead. Our school systems do a great job of preparing students for life. But for individuals with special needs, there's not always the same avenues of what's next once they graduate high school. And many of the skills that we teach in CAS Academy are use it or lose it type of skills. So if you're learning how to cook in high school and then you graduate and you don't have the opportunity to continue learning in those skills, it's just use it or lose it. And so there are some great organizations out there that provide day programming, provide some sort of support for individuals like our core members, but they're not necessarily always focused in on like the life skill. And they might be more focused on, they're there to make sure that that individual's safe. It's not always about making sure that individual is growing. They're there to give that individual opportunities, but maybe not empower them to be doing things on their own. And that's where I feel like CAS is very unique. Everything we do, we want to empower that individual to be able to take what they know and build on it and eventually do it better on their own, or do it with less support than what they're currently doing it. And so while we do believe in having fun and we do a lot of fun things, everything we want to do is just focus on building that individual and empowering them to be a part of the greater community. And I think CAS Academy really helps our individuals do that. So some success stories from our CAS Academy. We have one individual who got a job at Parkview. And so now when he was attending CAS Academy, he's now employed. And he started his job at Parkview about 6 to 8 weeks before CAS Academy, before he graduated from the academy. And the week of graduation, Parkview reached out to him to say, we really love your work. You're doing a great job for us. Can we give you more hours? And that's just huge. I mean, that is huge for us to see it, have an individual come with us with a desire to work, but maybe not the confidence to figure out how to get that job or the skill set to how to get a job. Or maybe they have a job, but it's 4 hours a week. And now they've grown in their time management. They've expanded their capacity. They've learned some social skills that have now expanded and widened their opportunities. And that's now an individual who is empowered to not only get a job, but have a job, be great at that job. The employer sees how well he's doing, and that employer wants him. And so that's just huge for us. And that's something that we celebrate. We've also had a core member who, through her time at Cass Academy, has decided to enroll in Ivy Tech and started classes at Ivy Tech. That's amazing. So it's a great stepping stone for individuals that had all this support in high school, but didn't necessarily have the opportunity for another avenue outside of high school. It's a great step that helps them grow in all of those areas and some of those soft skills that we don't even realize that we need to learn, and that is confidence. It's showing up on time. It's being responsible for bringing your supplies, and so teaching those things along with the content areas. We've really seen incredible growth in our core members, and so the Academy is able to also help individuals in the community, not just our residents. Housing only benefits our residents. And so the Academy to me is just as equally important to our mission as the housing is.
And is there any, stories that has, tugged on your heartstrings? Is like, we were able to help this individual, this family, by giving them an option for housing. Is there anything that, you think is, at the top of mind of this was, one of our success stories that we lean on?
Sure. Yes. I do see all of our core members as a success story. But one that comes to mind is we have one of our core members came to us from the Karis House. So her home life prior to the Karis House, there was some exploitation, primarily financial exploitation on her part or on her family's part. And it left her in a position where home was no longer safe. But due to her intellectual disability, living on her own wasn't an option at that time. And so she had a journey of homelessness through a variety of shelters. And when the Karis House connected us with her, we did have a vacancy. And after meeting with her and hearing her story and being able to kind of go through like our assessment, she was a really good fit. She's been with us now for about 2 years. Actually, 2 years because she just graduated from Cass Academy. So Cass was the first place for her in the last decade that was a safe, permanent home. It was a opportunity for her not only to have a roof over her head, but it was a place for her to call her own. It was a place where she immediately had community. Her housemates came around her in such a beautiful way in creating friendships. The families of her housemates came around her and supported her when she didn't have family that was able to do so. And then her steward as well, being able to pour into her. So the housing component really shone through, but then her growth through the academy as well. So being able to participate in learning in healthy relationships. What are some healthy boundaries? It is okay to say no. There are some relationships that we have that aren't always healthy. How do we deal with those? So Cass Academy has really helped her grow in some of those areas. The financial literacy class has been able to help her manage. She's on unlimited income, and so how do we manage that, and how do we budget that? So really seen a lot of growth in her. There's still a lot of growth to have, as we all have. But she's definitely, I would say, a success story on both the housing and the academy side. Going from somebody who really had nothing in terms of no housing, no security, no independence, and no community, to really thriving, and being able to have all of those things that we've been able to see grow over the last 2 years.
Yeah, it's heavy stuff. I mean,
So-
and I imagine you see it probably, on a daily basis. What keeps you motivated to keep, coming back every day and wanting to do this work, even though, some days probably can be heavier than others?
Sure. I think what keeps me motivated is knowing that we are only helping the tip of the iceberg. And I'm also motivated by just our core members and seeing how hard they work for where they're at now, and learning to celebrate the little things has really helped me get excited about going to work. So I don't know. I think in our day-to-day lives, I don't think we typically celebrate things like, oh, I got asked to work more. Most of us would be like, oh, I've got asked to work more. But to celebrate, like, oh my gosh, you're doing such a good job that they want you more. That's amazing. We celebrate the fact that an individual got invited to a barbecue. Like, that's huge. Most of their lives, they didn't necessarily get invited to parties. So to celebrate, like, oh, they got invited to an outing with a friend, or we celebrate the fact that I don't know, they celebrated a work anniversary. They've been employed for a year. That's a celebration. So we started, every week we sit around as a team and it was like, what are our celebrations? And what are we celebrating? It might be that, this core member brought their book bag to Cass Academy today. Like, awesome. Like, great. Yeah. They remember that responsibility. But it's also big things too. Like this core member got a new job, or they've been working for 5 years. And so we celebrate the big and the little things. And that brings me back to work too, because I've started celebrating like the little things in my life too, like celebration, my task list, everything's got checked off, or celebration, we got invited to be on a podcast. So learning to celebrate all the things has really kept me motivated. And there are days that sometimes it's hard to find a celebration, but there's always one. There's always at least one. And that's enough to be like, okay, what's tomorrow's celebration going to be?
How do you guys measure success? What does a successful, process look like? How do you guys measure success?
I think we don't have a metric of great, that was a success.
Yeah.
But we do, I would say we measure success in the healthiness of the relationships we have with the core members and the families. And we know we have a healthy relationship when we're able to identify those little celebrations. So there are some core members that we have one core member, I absolutely love him. His name is Alex, and he is such a hard worker. He also works at Parkview. I've had conversations with his parents. Like, a success for Alex is if he takes a day off. So some of our core members, like Alex, are a little bit harder to get to know because they are so involved in the community, in working. He loves spending time with his family. But I find it a success because I can go to Alex and I've asked him to do things that I know are out of his comfort zone. He recently, if you go to Cass Housing's website, you'll see Alex's story on our website. To do that video was very out of Alex's comfort zone. Yeah. But I'm so proud of that relationship that I have with him, that I might not get to talk to him all the time, but we have a trusting relationship that he was willing to do that. And Rex and Susie, his parents, are just salt of the earth, like treasured people. And I feel like I have a good relationship with them as well. And so that's kind of how we measure success. Like, it can't be measured in like how many conversations have we had with core members or how often do we see them, but do we have healthy relationships with them? Are we trusted people in their lives that they can come to us, and do we feel like that we can go to them? And so I feel like that is where Cass is really, we're starting to shine. There's some relationships I'd love to see us grow in even more, but we have a lot of great relationships with not only our core members, but our families. And I just want to see us continue growing, not only deeper in our current relationships, but expanding those as we try to expand Cass.
How has Cass been embraced by the community? What kind of partnerships do you guys have in the community?
Yes. I would say whenever we get the opportunity to share about Cass, we always find somebody else who is willing to partner with us in some way, or who is being able to help us connect with other people. But when it comes to feeling supported by the community, absolutely. The foundations here, Windswell and Follinger especially, have been huge advocates for us and supporters of us, not only through grants, but just also through professional development, being people that we can talk to, run things by. But then Three Rivers has been an incredible partner. They come in and they help teach a financial literacy class. So they have been wonderful. Huntington University's occupational therapy program, they have been huge partners. Not only do they provide us some space for Cass Academy, they host our Cass Academy every Thursday, but their occupational therapy students teach part of our cooking classes for a semester. So that's been great for our core members to be able to engage with peers that are similar in age, but also just not necessarily staff all the time. So those are some partnerships that we really lean heavily on and really appreciate their support. But there are dozens of other organizations that have come alongside of us and helped us in ways, whether it's been financial or networking or pouring into our staff and core members.
Where do you see, the future for Cass House being? How much do you guys want to grow? Do you want it to be incremental? Do you want, fast growth? What are the kind of goals for you guys?
So I have big dreams, for sure. I have talked with individuals from all over the country. I've had phone calls from Colorado, Arizona, Tennessee, Florida. I've had individuals from California and Massachusetts come out and visit Cass to see what we're doing. I've been asked to speak organization up in Canada that's been trying to figure out how do we do housing in a way that is empowering our individuals and allowing them to grow at their own pace, but not putting a lid on how they can grow. Yeah. And many times a year we'll get emails. We saw your website. When are you coming to Washington? When are you coming out here? So I do have big dreams. Like, okay, how do we get one of these in every community across the nation? Yeah. But we do have to take it step by step for sure. So the immediate dream right now is we are wanting to build another community here in Northeast Indiana. A community of another grouping of 6 homes and a programming center to be able to expand the Cass Academy program as well. And we also want to be able to expand the type of support we're offering in the homes. So right now our homes, we considered them like independent living, where the core members are able to do, almost 100% on their own, or with the help of their waiver staff if they have the waiver. We know that the bulk of individuals with diagnosis in Northeast Indiana need a little bit more support from the steward role or from the staff than CAS is currently providing. So we would like to build a community where we have some independent living, but we also have some homes where CAS staff and maybe that steward is providing a little bit extra support to help make life successful for more individuals. So not only expanding our physical footprint here in Northeast Indiana, but also expanding the level of support that we're able to provide. And so we have some plans in the works right now that hopefully in the next few years we'll see another CAS community pop up here in Northeast Indiana. And my prayer for that is that it becomes a blueprint for communities all across the country. It's not, we are privately funded, so we're not, we don't have any government funding coming in. So it really is I think, a model that any state, any community would be able to do if they have the support from the community to make it possible. And I think that would benefit more than just Northeast Indiana. So I think we have something really good going for us. And I'm excited to see us expand. And then what does that look like for growing after this new community? I don't know, but I would like to be able to really think of this as a model in which any community across the nation could implement in a way that's going to not only benefit the lives of core members and their families, but really benefit the community that it is in.
Tell us about the Stronger Together Gala. What's
Yes.
that? What does that all entail?
So the Stronger Together Gala started about 3 years ago, and when I came to CAS, we didn't really have any formal fundraiser, but we also didn't really have an avenue to bring awareness to who we are. CAS was founded in 2015. The first house was in 2019. But when I still talk to people and I say, oh, I work for CAS, they have never heard of it. So we started the Stronger Together Gala as a way to bring awareness to the community and then also fundraise for the organization. And we've just found great success. And we've brought in some fun speakers to help the community understand the benefit of having individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, not only in our community, but like impacting our community as well. And so we've brought in some great speakers that have been able to share with us their stories and their journeys. But it's also just been an opportunity for us to be able to share with the community who we are and who we serve, and the importance of having organizations like CAS that are empowering individuals to grow in their independence, community, and purpose. And that's just been a great avenue for us to be able to reach the masses on what we do and the benefits of having CAS in the community.
How can people learn more about what you guys are doing, and maybe if they want to get involved, where would you direct them?
Yes. So I would always direct them to our website, so cashousing.org. And we are always looking for ways for people to get involved. It doesn't just have to be financial donations. We are looking for individuals who might have an hour or two a month to maybe mentor one of our core members. We're looking for individuals who might enjoy teaching. Like if you have a hobby, if you love to garden, if you love to crochet, if you love to cook, we're looking for ways for individuals to maybe come in, not on a regular basis, but on a one-time basis, say like, hey, I would love to teach a gardening class, how to have a garden with pots instead of a garden bed, or to help our core members build skills, but also maybe discover passion that they've had. We have a great program called CAS Cares. It's kind of a branch of our education program, and that's in partnership with the Fort Wayne Volunteer Center. And so twice a month, cast staff and our core members will go out and volunteer into the community and help give back to the community that has given so much to us. And that's helped our core members discover areas of purpose that they love. They love going to the animal shelter, packaging diapers for Shepherd's Hand, making meals at Project 216. And so we're always looking for volunteers who maybe once or twice a month would love to come and volunteer alongside of us. It's a great way to learn about your community and invest in the lives of other people. But the more volunteers we have, the more core members we can expand, open that up to. And then we also have special events. We have a golf outing coming up, and our Stronger Together Gala will be in October. So if you're looking for ways to really kind of understand who we are more and maybe get involved, those are great first steps as well.
Let's get into the rapid wrap-up questions. These
Okay.
are, fast-paced questions, either or kind of options here to wrap up the show, before we, get to the end here. Are you a lake person or a hiking person?
Ooh, I would say I'm a hiking person. So.
Any particular place in Northeast Indiana that you like to hike?
Oh.
Any trails?
Yeah. So I would say I'm a fan of like Pokagon State Park.
It's a good one.
So my family has gone up there quite a bit, actually, in the winter.
Yeah,
but
for
it's
the
still
toboggan run?
Yes.
Yeah.
But the trails are still up there. So probably hiking there would be my favorite Northeast Indiana area. But Fox Island is also really beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and that's close to my home. So, yes.
Would you rather see a concert at the Clyde or a show at the Embassy?
Ooh, both good choices. I did grow up with my family buying Embassy passes, and my sister got married at the Embassy, so I'm gonna have to go with the Embassy on that one. Good memories there.
Yeah, for sure. Would you rather spend an evening with your family building Lego sets by the Christmas tree or a football game with perfect weather?
Okay, you just picked two of my family's favorite things.
That was a Callie question.
Okay.
After your intro call, so yeah.
Yes. So I would have to say for me it would be a football game. So I absolutely love football. So that I could watch football all the time.
Are you a fan of a particular team?
We are huge Ohio State fans.
Oh boy.
So love the Indianapolis Colts. And I have grown to love the Cincinnati Bearcats because that's where my son went to school. So I would say those are the three teams. But yeah.
Nice. Do you have a favorite activity that you do or participate in with the Cass Academy, whether it's like the bowling league or the golf outing or any of those particular things?
I think my favorite thing to do with our core members is to give tours. So we always love to give tours of our homes. If people are wanting to learn more about Cass, a tour is always a great place. And we have several core members who just do an absolute wonderful job of giving a tour and expressing, what they love about Cass, the things that they're involved in. And so I always learn more about our core members during the tours. So I would say my favorite thing to do with core members is the tours. I also love our office. It's right in the middle of all of our homes. And I also love it when they just stop by and they just want to tell us about their day. So those would be two of my favorite things.
Becca, thank you so much for coming on the show. I think you guys are doing great work. Your organization does a lot of really good things, and hopefully nothing but success for you in the future. And thanks for coming on today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a joy.